we'll go ahead and start with the roll call. Farlinger,
Here.
Gordon, here. Kramer,
Here.
Matthews,
Here.
Morris.
Here.
Takes us to our civility pledge, where we pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, and acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community. Looking to perfect and improve the agenda. Any known changes to the agenda tonight, Kim?
No changes.
We have a motion to perfect and improve the agenda.
I'll motion to perfect and approve. Second.
Motion by Mackey, second by Kramer. Farlinger,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
That takes us to item 6, citizen speak. This is time for anybody that would like to speak this evening. We do try to keep it to 3 minutes. I know Tony that he signed up. We'll hand it off to you to get started.
Did we let know? I was going to talk about dogs, but that's next time. A friend of mine sent me a really interesting article from the Washington Post, the 10th of August. And you remember the water, the hacking that's been going on there, accusing Iran and so forth. And it's not a big discussion anyway. And this was an interesting article, and I read through it, and it's water utility and cybersecurity, and was astonished on the last page to read that the director, the utility director, Cedar Rapids, is quoted and really praised. And his comment, it says the state of cybersecurity varies across the nation's more than 150,000 water systems. Some municipalities, such as Cedar Rapids, Iowa, were largely insulated against the recent hacks because their systems are air-gapped or not connected to the internet. We have had multiple people recommend we tie our system to the outside world, says Roy Hesseman, utilities director for Cedar Rapids, a national agency whose water system serves about 135,000 people. And he says, I've been adamant going back to 9/11, knowing that people were occasionally getting hacked, but no, we're not doing it. And the issue is the internet controlled switch devices offline. And I thought, I asked Ken to make copies. I thought it would be interesting for everyone to read it. Maybe the engineer might have an idea, some ideas, and the public works people. And it's not a big issue, but it is a big issue. And they say in here, all the communities across the country, Minnesota had 30 water systems hacked. And this was a warning, they're saying. I mean, it wasn't like shutting anything down. So not to be melodramatic or worrying too much about anything, but we've been talking about water for 10 years. This is something that we can talk about. And according to this, it's not that complicated or expensive. And there are going to be possibly grants. They get some legislation, grants for especially small communities where we can protect ourselves. So something to think about. The mayor has a copy and everyone else will get one. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Is there anybody else this evening that would like to speak during citizen speak? I know there's a number of folks that look like online as well. That will move on to the consent agenda. So this is approval of the minutes from the July 27th special meeting and the August 5th regular meeting. Approval of the list of bills, treasurer's report and transfers, building permits. There's a few of them. A couple different beer and liquor license approvals. It looks like the Casey's General Store ownership amendment, and then a renewal for Sam's Main Street Market, and then the Bone Dash as well. Is there anybody from the Bone Dash here this evening?
She's on. Go ahead, Katie.
Oops, sorry. Hello. I'm with the Arthritis Foundation, hosted the Bone Dash.
Could you tell us just a little bit about your event plans from the event application that was submitted?
Yep. So the Bone Dash has been held the last 4 years by the Pediatric Rheumatology Group at Stead Family Children's, and it's been held there in Solon. We have partnered with them since we see the same population and serve the same population. So we are partnering with Stead Family Peds Rheumatology Group to become the new host of of this event. So funds raised benefit the Arthritis Foundation. It's open to everyone in the community. It sounds like in the past, they've had about 300 participants, and just a fun community event to bring together arthritis population, running participants, and then members of the community as well.
Looks like it will be down at the Timber Dome and kind of in the grassy area with that. Is there any assistance or any help needed that you have from the city?
I don't think so. They have already renewed, like with the DNR, their permit for the trail. And so I don't think there should be anything else. I've talked with Susie at the city hall there about a few things as well.
Anybody have any questions about the event? All right, well, Katie, thank you for going over that with us.
Yeah.
Any questions over any of the other items? Yeah. If not, do we have a motion to?
Sorry, I was on, I muted myself. Sorry about that. Do we have any issues with the liquor license renewals, approvals? And the ownership amendment, is it kind of just a formality that they had to do?
Directors.
Usually it's like new directors that they have to sign on that permit.
Got it.
And there's no known issues with Sam's Main Street Market.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. All right, motion by Parlier, second by Mackey. Parlier,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morris. Yes. All right, that takes us to item 8, the Public Works Superintendent reports. Next.
I'll start, rain last week, didn't get much mowing done, so, I've been working hard this week, catching up. Parks and Rec guys been helping out, which is nice, so we'll try and catch up there. Might have noticed we're missing a tree down in Randall Park. They have to take down one of the old oak trees, it's been dropping dead branches for years, and it's just safety issue, so we decided to not get it down. We didn't plant the green year last year, swamp oak, so probably long past when I'll be here, but it'll be big again one day, so, got some lights changed down at the parking lot of SRNA, they've been out for a while, bulbs have been on backwards, so we got those in, got that taken care of. About 3 weeks left of the splash pad. So. Good. Labor Day, that Tuesday it's done. Got the banners, the veterans banners hung up. Counted 77 total, I think that's correct. I think it's a great thing the city gets to participate. Putting these up makes town look great, honors our town veterans and their families, and go around and check them all out. There's some, I think we put up another 9 new ones. So, yep. And then, Brady Robertson, got his grade 1 water treatment, I believe, was it? Yep, so he's on track, doing the work, and so we're real proud of him. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, started painting all the like stop bars and like crosswalks in town. Still I plan to do, but started that. And then, we are gonna start painting soccer fields and football fields for like all sports, so. That's what I've been going on.
As you know, the water tower's been back on, it's been running good for a couple weeks now, so we got a nice blend of water again from all 3 wells. To speak on this cyber attack stuff, Cammy and I, before the story even hit the news, the EPA and the Homeland Security, we sat in on a Zoom call with them. Everything the city of Solon has done and is doing is above and beyond the recommendation. We are already insulated in our water and wastewater communication from the internet. Every modem that we have that is part of the communication is password protected. And each modem has its own separate password. The two tablets that we use to communicate with the system, so when we're at home, we can still see what's going on. Those are all password protected. They are not connected to the internet. So we are where we're supposed to be with this big hack, and we've been doing this for years. A long time ago, it was all connected with phone lines, but as we've moved into newer technologies, we're totally protected from any of this hacking. Also, I've been going to this water leadership class all summer. This was a big discussion with them too. It's put on by Des Moines, West Des Moines and Ames Water. Some of the bigger water systems in the state. What we're doing is right on track with what they're recommending, and got a lot of kudos for already doing. We just do that normally. We're pretty secure here, so. Just to give everybody a little bit of what's going on with that, how we are already protected and have it.
With some of the upgrades or changes with the modems that we had, I'm trying to think, when we had some issues with our service on that, was that part of this as well, or is that a separate?
No, we were already doing all this. Those modems were 10 years old and technology. They couldn't update anymore. So we had to get new modems, but same thing. We brand new modems, guaranteed for whatever it was, 5 or 6 years. And like I said, they're all password protected, not connected to the internet. There's no way for them to connect to the internet. So we have a separate computer at the wastewater plant that runs all that. It's not connected. We're a closed system. So
Thanks for
pretty good there.
the proactive approach with it. Tony, thanks for bringing it to our attention as well.
Quickly, thank you for saying that. The Cedar Rapids Gazette and Channel 9 know nothing about any of this. I called them, they knew nothing about their utilities director and anything else. And if it's all right, I'm gonna ask the Gazette, full of economists at least. This is an interesting story. And it's wants to be commended, and I'm gonna ask them to do a story, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right,
Wherever we can get the word out there.
thank you, thank you. Nobody understands or knows anything about any of this. I didn't. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions for the superintendent? Thanks. Takes us to item 9, city engineer report. Dave.
On the Wood Lily flood study, we're continuing to work through that. Should be able to assemble a preliminary report here in the next week or so. The wastewater plant, we are scheduled to have 60% plans due at the end of the month. We've been working on getting those assembled. I have a couple of drawings that we're getting touched up yet and working on updating the cost estimates, but that's right on schedule. And then the other 2 items are later on the agenda with Trail Ridge and Jordan Creek Church site plan.
Then city attorney, Kevin. Takes us to item 11, Johnson County Supervisor Rod Sullivan. I thought I saw you online there, Rod.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be here. I don't have a lot for a report today. I did want to thank the City of Solon for allowing Johnson County to use your facility last night for the educational piece about the jail. We appreciate your cooperation with that very much, and we hope that folks in Solon got a lot of their questions answered. That's really about all I have. I'm open to any questions you folks might have.
I don't have any questions for it, just from kind of the news story that I saw last night. Looks like there's pretty good turnout last night here. So, Kim, thanks for opening up and getting everything ready for that. But glad that we can help accommodate the space and for some Q&A with that. I think it's going to be a great project that goes through. Anybody have any questions or anything for Rod?
I saw you on TV tonight. I commend you for questioning salaries as we all recently got our property tax notices. You're to be commended for at least bringing that up. I think it's an important piece. I really do. I think any form of government is dealing with property tax money. Things need to be looked at even more carefully today than ever. And I applaud you for bringing that up. And not making a couple people happy, but reality is still reality.
Thank you.
All right, well, Rod, thanks so much for calling in and giving us an update on that. Always love seeing you at the meetings or on the meetings.
Yeah, well, thank you, folks. Appreciate you.
That takes us down to public hearings. Item 12, the public hearing on vacating a certain portion of Second Street located west of South Iowa Street. That, do we have a motion to go into the public hearing?
So moved.
All right, motion by Moore, second by Gordon. Farley,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morris.
Yeah.
All right, we are now in the public hearing.
This is just, when we're vacant, this is a part of Second Street, west of South Iowa Street that's in the school project. There's not really a road there. We couldn't find that it had ever been vacated. Contacted the county, they couldn't find it either. So we're doing this as part of the school site plan. So we have to have a public hearing on, and then have 3 readings of an ordinance to vacate this.
Question over discussion we had at the last meeting over this. Is there any public question or comment? Comments? With that, do we have a motion to close the public hearing? I have a motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Gordon, second by Kramer. Farley,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer.
Yes.
Yes. Morris.
Yes.
Takes us down to new business, so reading of the ordinance number 498, vacating a portion of Second Street located west of South Iowa Street. I know there was some discussion at the meeting last week about trying to condense the readings on this to continue hit this construction window on that. Is that something that we should condense them this evening, or it's do a reading tonight and at the
We'll
next
do it at the
meeting?
next
The next
meeting.
one will condense the second and
Yep.
thirds. Okay. And then that was just to help continue to make sure that we hit the construction window this year on portion of the alley that we all thought was a driveway. So, any questions or comments on that? All right, with that, we have a motion for the first reading of ordinance 498.
I'll move to approve ordinance 498.
I'll give Morris the first and John the second on that one. Barnier,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Takes us to item 14, the Trail Estates Part 4 construction plans. Dave?
So we took a look at this a while back with the preliminary plat. The construction drawings are substantially in accordance with the preliminary plat, with one exception. The sanitary sewer, instead of going west and tying in where we were going to have to excavate the existing street, they've requested that they go east. And as part of that, the area to the east of this project that is not going to be developed, they'd like to continue to put the sewer in and install the services there now and include that in easement. That provides a shallower sewer for the city to maintain in the future, avoids having to tear into street to the west. There was some discussion during the preliminary plat phase about that. And that's in the current construction drawings. So when you look at those, you'll see that there is some work outside of the Part 4 area for the sewer, and that's the reason why. Everything else is substantially consistent with the preliminary plat. The stormwater routing we've talked about because of some other issues in town. They've been able to maintain that in the backyards and then come down the street rather than running through an easement between houses. So that was discussed at length with them, and they were able to come up with a plan that accommodates that. So after review of the plans, recommend approving those, allowing them to start construction.
You mentioned the easement change.
Yes, so the easement that was needed on lot 114, I believe it was, on the west, in order to get that sewer installed is no longer necessary. That was a lot that was already existing as part of Part 3. There is an easement due to the sewer routing side of lots 143, 145. And that's when we have the sewer on a street that curves, we want to put the sewer in straight. So that gets close to the right of way. In order to make sure we have room to work in the future, we just request that they provide adequate easement on those lots so that the city can do work in the future. And that's been provided as well.
And then we will The easement on the existing lot, we'll vacate that in the future, and then we'll just add these two easements back to those two lots that Dave mentioned to accommodate what the change in the sewer. So that'll be coming up in future meeting then.
The recommendation to approve the construction outside of phase 4. No concerns with that. No. Adam, anything you want to add? No, for David, for any questions or comments on any of that? That we have a motion to approve the Trail Ridge Estates Part 4 construction plan.
So.
Second. Motion by Morris, second by Mackey. Arnold,
Yes.
Gordon, Kramer.
Yeah.
Mackey. Yes. Morris.
Yeah.
All right, next we have item 15, George Creek Church, project, the infrastructure, connections. Dave as well?
Yes, so as you recall, we had previously discussed utilities that may serve the Jordan Creek site. Discussion was that obviously the city would prefer to do annexation, given that there may be some complications to that. We wanted to take a look at options to be able to provide water and sewer service, make sure that we had future street connectivity accounted for in some manner. And the site plan they provided to us, they also did a traffic study to look at the site distance, the need for turn lanes, any warrants, and so forth at the proposed location where the street would extend out. And then they have their access onto that short street. So all of that's been reviewed. There's a memo put together that talks about this. The sanitary sewer, they are requesting that they do a septic system on this site in lieu of extending the sanitary sewer, and most of that is due to the difference in the cost, roughly $200,000 to $300,000 to extend sewer to that location, and we would need to get an easement on property that's not under their ownership to do that. The septic system is estimated at $65,000, so pretty big difference in cost. As we've done with some other locations in town or right outside of town, we've given the permission to do the septic with the condition that at such time that sewer is adjacent to that property or close enough they can connect, or they would make that connection and abandon the septic system. So the agreement would include that language. The water supply similarly looked at the cost to extend water out there. We would not be providing fire protection, so either option requires them to put a tank on site with some pumps for fire protection. But they're looking at either a well and some internal water main, or if they were to look at trying to extend out to connect to the city. In this case, the cost of the well has quite a bit of variability. Could be up to $650,000, whereas if they could do a connection to the Gallery Acres line, there's some costs associated with that and connection fees and so forth, but that would be significantly less at around $370,000. And both of those options include that tank, which is a good portion of that well cost. The request there is for them to be able to start the procedure to request the connection to Gallery Acres by filling out the permit and moving forward with that, if council is agreeable to that. As far as the pavement and access, we did look at a couple of things there. One was to install just south of the church access as proposed, and to make sure that that road was set up such that if we needed to widen for future for the city, we didn't impact the west side where their driveway was. They would still be able to access, and the city wouldn't incur a bunch of extra costs for temporary roadway and access. The cost they looked at, if we were to try to put something in all the way back to Trail Ridge from Highway 32, was in that $2 million range. The shorter section that we're looking at now is for that 400 feet, roughly 650,000 or so. If they were to try to do everything on their property, they had estimated about 870,000, but there isn't really any need to go south of that driveway at this point, as long as we can accommodate a fire truck turnaround in that intersection with their access in that roadway. So we've looked at that. Again, the traffic study did a pretty good job of looking at this. A couple of things to point out. The traffic study was done with a posted speed of 55 miles per hour at such time that the road was connected and they were part of the city, we'd likely reduce that speed limit, so wouldn't have as much of a need for a turn lane or anything like that in there. They did suggest in the traffic study to maintain enough room so that if a right turn lane becomes warranted off of 382, that they could fit that in. So again, looked at the site plan, and all of this has been laid out on that site plan, accommodated. They've worked in the requirements here for the traffic. The questions that remain are we able to give them the variance for the septic system? And then is the city favorable to allowing the connection to Gallery Acres water line, or at least allowing them to start that process? So that's where this sits, is they're just here looking for some feedback from council, and I wanted to give you our review of the utility situation.
Cammy, would you be able to pull up that map with the orange and the yellow? It makes it a little bit easier if we can see what we're referencing on here. Cammy, John and I met with representatives from Jordan Creek last week. I thought it was a very productive meeting that we had with that. During that meeting, we voiced our preference for annexation, but know that we would need to annex another parcel as well, which we'll see on the map here briefly on that for it to happen. I have in the past been very adamant against providing water if there is not annexation with this, where I feel you should be in town to get the water. I voiced how had a different stance with McBride Point, as that was going to be a water conservation effort by allowing them to connect with it. Josh and the group from Jordan Creek expressed a willingness to annex now if able to, or at a future date whenever that connection would ensure that there wasn't like an island inside of city limits at all. With that, through those conversations, I felt that a lot of the concerns were addressed. One, we talked about the infrastructure costs on it, and the map that we'll see here that Cammy's working on. The orange line is what is on Jordan Creek property. And so we had discussed, I felt that it would be reasonable that we provide a street, or not we provide a street, that they install a street that gives them access to the church, as well as provides a turnaround for fire truck or larger city trucks with that. And if it were in the municipal improvement agreement, that then they would finish the street once the parcel that has the yellow line on it, if it were ever to be developed, that then they would connect the street at that point, similar as Dave discussed the city street. My concern is that we make it up to city standards, and if not from day one, that we have the agreement in place to ensure that it comes up to city standards with that, and that it's, again, my preference would be annexation now, so we don't just kick that can down the road. But I think just through discussions with the Jordan Creek group, there's definitely a willingness to work with that. They went through, provided a lot of detail as far as different costs or options, which is something that we had asked them to do previously. And then from a water standpoint with that, if annexed at a future date, or when that time came, if it were going to be a $370,000 connection, I felt that it would be reasonable to allow that application to happen now versus putting in a $650,000 well now, and then still at annexation having them connect the line and having another $370,000. So just knowing that these are some of the issues that come up with out of order development. I thought through the meeting, things were very, like I said, productive and different options and mapping everything out. So just kind of my thoughts on it. I don't know if council has any questions for Dave or Josh, or if we want to have Josh speak at all this evening before we go over anything, up to council as far as thoughts on questions or additional comments.
What was the big change to accept annexation, I guess?
Look, I'm one of the many, so I can't speak for the entire congregation, but I've pushed to work with the city. I think it's been There's been some conflict in the past, and I think it's important that Jordan Creek work with the city. We're on a tight time frame, and so we're gonna need to go down parallel paths with the county and with the city. I don't think there's an opposition to annexation itself. I think the challenge has been that there's always been a belief that if we annex, that entire yellow piece, that ought to pass as well. And it's my understanding based upon our conversation that was some confusion. And that the yellow piece would be done by whomever develops that parcel, whenever they develop that parcel.
During the meeting too, we had this discussion with that and that, I guess, and I could speak for Bob, that he would not like a street through his property. With that, one, we wouldn't require somebody that doesn't own the property to put a street in on property they don't own. We also wouldn't require a street go in on property that may never develop. It may at some point, but that was a big disconnect where, just talking through the cost of development, there's a disconnect on that. And I think that's what Josh was able to speak to just now, where some of the change in mind came down to having the picture that's up on the screen now really helped clear up a lot of misunderstandings.
I just like to jump in real quick on that too. I was also very hesitant about this to begin with without annexation, and I think I think with the way things are going in town and developments and that sort of thing, we just need to make sure that again, I'll talk about the same thing I did last meeting about setting precedent and doing the right thing. If we have our ducks in a row and we have a developer's agreement that says, yeah, we're willing to work with you on X, Y, and Z. When the time comes, you know, you're gonna have to pony up and finish that road, or you're gonna have to connect to city water and you're gonna have to connect to city sewer. It may not happen right now, but there is that set expectation that when that area is developed out to there, if and when, that they will be held accountable for those connections.
With that, my thought would be that any approval going outside of city standards is that would be in the agreement, that agreement would be signed, and that everything would be to city standard when that time comes, versus coming back and having, you know, a handshake agreement. There's turnover on both sides, it gets lost kind of in transition, things like that. And again, the Jordan Creek group seemed very willing to do that. We said, you know, the future, it could be tomorrow, may never happen, it could be 100 years from now, but just having that in place, the one, it would ensure that it's built to city standards when the time comes for that. But it also helps get the project off the ground more quickly, with that, just looking at some of the differences and cost estimates.
I would agree with that.
So I think as far as tonight goes, kind of get a feel for council, what your stance is on that. Would you be open for that type of agreement? As Jordan Creek goes to move forward with their application with the county, it will come to us as well. We've recommended that we go kind of a dual path on this, just to ensure that we can keep the project moving forward. But as part of their application, they need to know whether they need to apply to install a well, whether they need to apply gallery acres for water, and that comes down to really what you guys think tonight.
I mean, I'm okay with the hookup here. My questions surround the annexation piece and the yellow portion of the road then. So that yellow, the orange portion up there, is what Jordan Creek is expecting or required or whatever purchase agreement you put in initially.
And probably not the full width, it'd probably be
About halfway.
about half of that orange line now. That yellow portion would be 100% dependent on if it develops, when it develops, anything like that.
Gotcha.
If that yellow line were, that parcel were to develop at that point, our agreement with Jordan Creek would be for them to complete the rest of that orange portion of it. So they would need to connect to make sure that that was a full through connection through Trail Ridge, up to 382.
And the city limit stops there at the end of Trail Ridge, they're just on the east side, right? Yeah, east side, you the map, right? So this county's involved, obviously, because it's not within city limits, is there, and they probably fall within some form of a conveyance within Solon. By the county, don't we have like a 2-mile
Yeah, so,
development or whatever it's called?
so we had a meeting, I can't remember how long ago, from the Board of Adjustment, because that's go to the Board of Adjustment for the county, and they can give the, I guess, conditional use permit for the church in this zone district, but the condition is it has to be approved by us, the Board of Adjustment and the county made it subject to us also approving it, so that's why they're talking about the dual process, is they send it to the county and the city at the same time, so that way, when we probably have ours done first before the county would sign off, because their Board of Adjustment said we had to sign off, so it'd probably be like the city approves it, and then we're ready to get.
Yeah, and I can verify that. I talked to Josh Broussard yesterday, just to make sure I understood the process. And so typically, once they get the application, before they take any action, it comes to the city. And then the city council has 3 options. They can waive review, they can approve, deny, or they can forward to planning and zoning. Most of the time, the city council with a project this size does want it to go through the full Solon planning and zoning process before it comes back to formal approval. What I think, so that's a county process. The dual process, I think that's also on the table is Josh has indicated that they're very open to pursuing annexation. However, they don't have full control of that because that minor property is in between. And so that there's discussions happening, they're favorable. We believe the path to annexation is possible in the future. And so the plan, I believe, is for them to submit to the county, which requires city approval, but also continue to pursue annexation. From a logistical and jurisdiction standpoint, once a project of this size starts at the county, then it should follow county building permit, county building completion. No different than if you just don't switch jurisdiction once you've started in one jurisdiction. So just keep that in mind as you think about a dual path or parallel path of the timing of the project. What would make sense is if the council was favorable to allow the Gallery Acres connection as they go through the county process, then they would complete the project in the county process, get the building completed, get occupancy, and at that point, begin an annexation process, or at least whenever the agreement says that annexation process is going to be.
The other part of the exception is Dave talked through is with the septic on that, so the assumption that yellow portion up there does not annex wouldn't be cost effective to connect the city's sewer, or if it is all annexed, as long as that yellow portion up there does not develop, it wouldn't make sense, or I don't feel it would be reasonable to request they connect the sewer because there's no sewer out there. Once that yellow strip, or if that yellow strip were to develop, they would tie in most likely to the Trail Ridge sewer at that point, which then would make sense for the Jordan Creek to come up with city standard, run sewer through their property to to connect to the next parcel or parcels that were to develop in the future.
And I think that that'll be spelled out in the developer's agreement that we make as part of our plan, correct?
Yeah, all these things that we talked about, all the timing issues can all be flushed out in the development agreement. And if we're working on annexation, if we need to work with another property, remember when we annexed Trail Ridge Estates in, we worked with the township trustees on the cemetery, and a couple of property owners on the other side of the road, and made agreements with them when they annexed that we weren't going to do certain things to them if they annexed in. So that's something we can work on at the same time.
One of the things I talked to Bob Meyer the other night was if there were annexation around the requirement to put in a street, water, sewer, things like that. If that yellow piece is not going to develop, whether it's annexed or not, I don't feel like we should require street, water, sewer to be through there until it is developed. If that yellow parcel does annex, which would allow Georgia Creek to annex, so that would just be helping with the orderly growth and having it all connected. But if that yellow portion is not going to develop, I don't feel like, and if we need to put it in writing, anything like that, I would be in favor of doing that, just so Bob and his family don't act in good faith to annex, to allow Georgia Creek to annex and turn around and be flat with, oh yeah, you need more water and sewer. And now I would want to assure the Myers that would not be part of any annexation, which kind of lines up with what we talked the other night. I don't know, Bob, if you want to have anything to say, or if you want to jump in, or if you're just listening tonight.
No, it was never my intention to be caught in the middle of this, but literally I am. I do appreciate the council's understanding of the situation and your willingness now to work with the church. That's been weighing on my family quite a bit. I'm speaking for my family, my two brothers and myself. Sooner or later, we are going to annex, whether in part or the whole of that property. And just to be fair to you as well, we do not intend to develop that. It's contingent to the bike trail and a small county park across the bike trail is a unique piece of land. You don't notice them normally, but for the past 10 years, we've had a pair of sandhill cranes come back every year on that property. And so it is very unique. Turtles, whatever, who knows what's out there. But our intention is not to develop that. But we are favorable to the idea of annexing with some assurances.
And is that something that we've done in the past that we could do, is have some type of agreement?
Before they would sign the annexation application, we'd have an agreement that the other thing we'll have to include is we're not going to make them assess them for a sidewalk on the road too, since we couldn't, council can do that. We're not all going to be here all the time. So I think that'd be another thing we'd include, because that would be something, I think that's what we included on the other parcels when we annexed Trail. They came in with Trail Ridge.
I'm making a small list.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'm happy to work with you on that.
Having gone through this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were in the cemetery too, so yeah. Okay.
That's just kind of my thoughts on, again, open up for comments, questions.
But I do appreciate your using your position with the church. I think that's reasonable. And, the church, you're not going to gain a lot of tax money off the church, but there is added value by, as Solon expands, people having a place to worship and having that available. If you build it, they'll come.
And I think with that too is kudos to Josh and his leadership that he's had since coming onto the project with that, and just the conversations we've been able to have with that, and really just his push to find the common ground, the kind of understanding the misunderstandings and just being able to talk through those. And again, I think when this map got put together, it made it a heck of a lot easier to talk through between the costs associated with development, but also who owns what would be required, when, where, everything like that. Again, I thought it was a very productive meeting that we had. As far as up here, is there any thoughts or feelings towards direction to give towards the brief on next steps?
I'll just say that, one, I'm glad you're not developing it, because it is a beautiful piece of land. And then two, Josh, what were your initial concerns with annexation? Like that stirred the disagreement. Do you have any concerns about annexation?
I mean, I think we've shared the concerns, and it's really just, it's a cost thing. It's requirements for installing road and sewer and whatnot on property that we don't want to control. That's been the concern of the group, because it's a pretty substantial amount. I personally don't have any concerns outside of that, because I know it can all be addressed in the agreement, so.
Okay, and the consensus is this is a good deal for you, or I should say good deal for anybody per se, because I don't know, wasn't there, but it's a fair deal for all parties right now. You're happy with what you're asking right now?
I can speak for myself. I think yes,
Okay.
I think assuming the council allows us to install what's needed to build the church today, with an agreement that at some point when the neighboring property is developed, that we would bring everything up to city code, that helps a lot.
Okay.
If we're putting in city streets with curb and gutter and, everything, that's pretty expensive, and we started this project about 3 years ago, and we've got a ways to go on fundraising still, so every dollar helps.
Okay. Well,
But we also want to be cooperative with the city. We understand the city wants to continue to grow. We understand there's a lot of homes to the west. And so we don't want to be standing in the way.
Okay. Yeah, and your comment, I should say that if you build it, they will come. I think it isn't built, and it's about to get torn down, but they're already coming. I think I see the value with the church just in the P's programming, and it outside of I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I just visually, I think you guys are probably the biggest, if not next to St. Mary's, for church attendance and kids programming and stuff like that, all from kids here in Solon. So it does add a value, and I appreciate everything the church does. So thank you.
Andrew, any thoughts?
I got nothing. I like it.
Right? I'm good. Any thoughts?
What is the purple pink line?
That, the one, kind of the line furthest to the left, or
Water? Yeah.
that would be the connection to the Gallery Acres line where they would connect right there. That's the. Correct.
Main's on the other side of the street.
So, just kind of pending the agreement that to come into place for, Jordan Creek. If there is annexation, pending agreement with the Upmeyers as well with it, just everything that we're looking for tonight as far as direction for Jordan Creek for their next steps.
Yes, I think what Dave and I have agreed on is they really should probably pursue the Gallery Acres application first. And then when they're ready to submit their site plan to the county, to also submit to the city, so we can do that parallel review and keep things on track on our end, because our planning and zoning only meets monthly, so it kind of can stretch out if we kind of miss our target dates for that. And I've shared that, Josh.
And then as far as annexation window, that is lengthy in itself, or the process.
And we'll work with.
If how it goes.
I'll start working on the agreement when we got the outline of the terms here, so there's no sense not to start working with the church on that, and then we can work with Mr. Upmeyer if they had something he wants to do in his family.
Thanks for coming in tonight, Bob. Thanks for coming tonight. I called and talked through that. They got it. Grant agreements. That takes us to item 16, City Hall remodel project, Steve Road construction estimate. Kim?
Yeah, this is, the final bill, for the remodel here. Several Construction conducted the majority of the remodel here, and, copy that invoice is in your packet, and I wanted to just highlight, Chris Richardson and I sat down with John Steeble and kind of went through many of these things were not a surprise to us. We knew that when we got into a remodel, there were going to be some surprises, and there were. We did our kept the mayor in full loop of the things as they arose. Many things had to just be decided on the spot to get the project going. And so what I've done is I highlighted, if you know, the few of those that, you know, were significantly different from the quote, and then put kind of some detailed explanation as Chris and I sat with John and kind of reviewed kind of the highlights of, you know, where the estimates were significantly different. One of those is in item 20, and that was on the brick and the stone. That was a special order from out east, and it had to be shipped, and it could only be ordered in a cube. You couldn't just order just enough that was needed. Now, the extra stone that we do have is going to be used when we do the parking lot, because there's some repairs to do to the pillars. And then I guess we'll maybe possibly have some extra left over. I don't know. Line 24, that was some electrical that needed to be done. We had to put a mini split into the lobby. There was no heating and cooling in that area. Also, a lot of the cans could not be reused because they were not LED. And there wasn't also, let's see. There was another section for some electrical work that did not get expended, so it just kind of helps offset that expense on line 24. 35, that was for all of our closet doors were not standard size. They were a special order. The hope was to reuse a lot of the base in the building. However, once it got pulled off, it was unable to be used for a variety of reasons. We added some kitchen doors, and this council wall was added. The biggest expense had to do with the, also upstairs, when they took all the wainscoting off, there was no drywall like the wainscoting. So there was some that was unexpected. The biggest charge really has to do with the flooring. And when they pulled up the carpet upstairs, it was all glued down and all the underlayment had to be replaced, and that was unexpected. The original bid was also for carpet, which was not. It was supposed to be bid for the laminate. That was a $6,800 difference that we didn't realize. However, the bulk of it was the underlayment upstairs. They had to take out the walk-in cooler that was over here, do self-leveling, and do some self-leveling here in this room as well. And that's the bulk of. Once that floor was up and we saw the condition, we knew the underlayment had to be, so they had to use self-leveling and then put an underlayment underneath the entire upstairs. So it was unexpected. There was some additional changes because there were some doors upstairs we were hoping to reuse and found out we couldn't reuse them. So there were some costs with some extra doors, but those were reflected in the light windows invoices that have already been paid, but are not a part of this. So those were the major costs changes were the extra doors, as well as the flooring. Anything to add, Chris?
No, but yeah, originally we were gonna try and reuse some of the doors up front. This door behind us was not in the greatest shape. We were hoping to reuse one of those that was upstairs, but because of the way the threshold were mounted, they couldn't get them out without damaging them, so we ended up having to order another door down here. And then there was a change of one of the front doors upstairs. We thought they were supposed to be solid core doors. And they came with glass. Clearly, that was just miscommunication. They don't make solid core doors. They only do the glass, so we had to do a change to upgrade the glass so it was more secure, which was a little bit of a cost.
So this would be considered the first phase. We still have not completed the audio visual for this room. We've got multiple quotes, none that are reasonable. We are still working on it. So that is the last major piece to the remodel of phase 1 is the audio visual for this room. Phase 2 has to do with geothermal. We'll have a quote for that here coming up when we look at phase 2, and then also the pavement work for outside, which Dave has done a concept for, and that'll come to the next council at the next meeting to look at that.
Thank you for the thorough review of that. Definitely how the project turned out. I think it's been a great addition for us, having various groups meeting down here too. Lots of compliments to all the work that's been done. For all the.
Well, I asked that it didn't look like a funeral home. Thought they did a good job.
Listen to the cooler out.
Any questions or comments around that?
Are we expecting, with the digital audio and what remains to be done, that big of a gap in between estimated costs and actual costs? Because I'm looking at around 49,100.
We didn't have a solid audio visual cost. The costs are coming in way higher than anything that we had expected. We'll bring something back when we have something we feel meets the needs and is acceptable. The costs, I'm not even sure they had some wiring in here and that ended up getting covered elsewhere. One thing you will note, Matt, is that the IT came in about $12,000 less. And that is because we learned some hard lessons with the new fire station. And so we were able to figure out some ways to manage that transfer of all of our IT. So there is some savings there. So in short, I can't answer the question because I don't know what those quotes are gonna come in as.
Okay.
And I think something with that too for audio visual, the owl works now. We have the TVs up, we can get by with this. And so I think that's one where as we get quotes in here, we see where they come in at. If we don't feel they're reasonable, I think we weigh in just kind of how we're currently doing things and if it's worth the cost to do.
One hiccup we ran into is we were told the cameras could be used to record, but there's a delay in that. That turned out that didn't work out to be the way that we had hoped. So that's why we're kind of back to starting from scratch with audio visual for this.
The delay wouldn't be such a problem, except the delay is with the audio, so it'd be about 2-second difference. And
What else was there for millwork outside of the custom size buildings? I mean, I'm told the $17,000 difference. I sell Milford. I count the doors in here and question how that got, and then that number got that high.
Let's see, let me just look at. Got.
You didn't get quite as much base as me, because when the stick started on the base off, the building sat. There was a lot of moisture damage to it, it was delaminating. But we ended up buying about quite as much base as we initially intended, with people. It was more costly, but then instead of tearing everything out, starting over with national. We have to really want to keep, what them were doing. Or a lot of that was just, we ended up doubling up on base, and then it was not so good. Base, so I do.
Yeah, he had 450 feet is the number he gave us, Tim. New base.
Okay.
That also included all the hardware for the new doors, which wasn't fully initially ordered for the day recording was on court stuff.
That wasn't in the original estimate.
If I remember correctly, I don't think it was.
That just seems insane to me, but that's just my 2 cents as I'm trying to justify a $17,000 hike off an estimate. If I ever did that to anybody, it would be. Yeah, I don't understand why they're called estimates, but. Well, yeah.
Audio comment at this time. No, you know what I'll change that. I'm back to what he said the last time. I'm a taxpayer first. Again, I'm gonna say to our city staff, let's be cognizant of a taxpayer's dollar. Period. I'm tired of looking at bills. I looked at this. I get things happen. Just because you used to do it that way, that ain't good enough anymore. As I listen to people who call me about their property taxes, it went down, okay? Question about what we're doing. All right, this is an example. Because it will be in the paper, and my phone will ring about it because it's gone up from what we thought. And upset.
Any other comment or question?
Just a process question, quick, Dan. When there is such a difference between what's estimated and what the actual cost is this something that, you, like, obviously it was already approved, that we're gonna renovate, and that was a council decision. But when it's this far off the mark, does it come back to council for approval with any of that, or is that something that you kind of oversee as part of your duties?
Some of it was like on the fly where this is a situation that comes up.
Okay.
Are we ordering all new trim so it all matches, or are we going with what we had to begin? Like some of those are.
And that sounds okay, I'm not doing that. What I'm looking at it for future stuff, right? As we go through these phases, I don't wanna have that big of a difference again, and then, we see another sheet like this, and I wasn't on the council that approved this prior to having this much insight into it, so, I just didn't know if there was a stopgap in between, like, that's going like, if it's 5,000-7,000 above, okay, great, if it's above 10, okay, might wanna bring everybody in and see what you think about this, I just wasn't sure how it worked. So, thank you for explaining that.
We probably look at, are there limits from initial estimates to then seeing how are things, like, again, once floors tore up, there's assumptions made, and then in situations significantly worse than what the assumption is. What are the other options as far as, is it flooring, is it trim, whatever that may be?
Did we get multiple estimates from contractors?
We used chapter 26, the vertical infrastructure bidding process. So this was bid out under chapter 26. So I think we got two people responded to our bid request. So it was put out for a public bid for anybody to bid on it.
Questions? Thoughts? If not, we have a motion for item 16, the city hall remodel projects, diesel construction pay estimate. As far as action, there isn't a motion for it.
Let me ask everybody a question too. What we could do is approve a partial and take out the items in here that you want to have more information on. Would that be something that I'm just saying that's another option.
Nothing's gonna change it, it's just a matter of,
Cammy, do we have an original budget on this deal? The
That's what-
original,
That's what I put in your packet. It had an estimate. We had estimates.
no, from a council standpoint, not from this. Did the previous council approve like $300,000, 250,000?
I'd have to go back and look, but no, I think
Okay,
it was
all right.
just, I think
Simple
we
question.
knew that it was a remodel. We knew there was gonna be unexpecteds. We didn't have a hard top. It was just
Okay.
trying to, trying to get the best estimates we could for what we knew at the time.
Right, so the bottom line is these guys have done the work, it's not gonna change. Maybe we've learned something, maybe we haven't. Some of it we can't change. I'll move to approve it.
I'll say.
Motion by Morris, second by Mackey. Farlier,
Yes.
Gordon. Kramer.
Yeah.
Mackey,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
I think moving forward, then we do look at our project process and set limits, set
And-
thresholds.
I also understand, Dan, that when you remodel something, it's not easy. I'll just.
a 35% increase off of an estimate, it's ridiculous. That's what it boils down to.
I mean, to your point, Tim, like you said, this is the work that's already been performed. This is what the bill is right now, which is the only reason I seconded it and voted yes, because it's which we have to pay them or what, get sued. But going forward,
With us sitting here, we'll just do things differently. If we have to.
All right, that's.
So let that be known, Dave. On the big project down the street, the eyes of someone are upon you.
All right, that takes us to other business, so item 17, council committee updates. Can we go and run through that list?
Yeah, we have, tonight's streets committee meeting is after this meeting. Let's see, purchasing policy draft is still under review, staff review. That'll be coming back to the finance committee. Building needs, we're gonna be getting together and talking about, the RFP here, in the next few weeks. The SRNA 28E, that's in review as well. The committee's gonna be, hopefully getting together to look at the updates that both the school and city have done. There was a meeting, on the 10th. The mayor asked me to organize with the trustees of the Methodist Church to talk about possible use of the city to use the Family Life Center, as we know that the community center lease comes to an end on in March of 2027. Last item, sure.
And then I am still waiting for a response from the attorney's office. I know Lynn's was out of town too, so I will try to follow up and have an update next meeting.
Thanks for all the update. Takes us to item 18, city clerk report. Susan, anything? Item 19, city administrator comments, Kim.
A couple things. Want to remind everybody that the Legion Legacy Run is on Monday. Bikes are expected to come through between 11 and 1. They're going to the Legion for lunch. And that first block of Main Street where the Legion is going to be closed after 9 o'clock, after school, after the buses get through, because it's also the first day of school. That's all.
And Tom. I did not have any mayor comments this evening, which takes us to our closed session, item 22, closed session. We do have a executive session to we talk with freshman faculty of city administrative regulation by Code of Iowa. Do we have a motion to go to closed session? Second. All right, by Morris, second by Kramer, Orlinger,
Yes.
Gordon. Kramer.
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Go ahead and go in closed session.
I'll leave.
Stay on, so is it okay? Yeah. Okay.
Send it to her. Thank you. Yeah. Have a good night.
Is that how? What's up?
Hey, I got that, Dave, I got that stuff upstairs in the room, you guys can start talking, and I also got the team study. Look at that. Okay.
If you see this goes upside.
So, do I just? And that's it, and then you got, yeah.
I'll let you know if I speak.
So I just put it once or twice?
I was Jupiter. Yeah, and you'll see if it's running.
Deal.
Oh, I'm not allowed to close down. I'll be coming back.
I don't know that you're in.
Everybody, somebody out. If they-
We'll tell them next session.
All right. See you when I come back.
Okay, have fun.
Yeah. So, what's your question?
Well, snowplow